Hi, I'm Peggy Farron, and you're watching the Understand Photography Show, where we talk about travel, nature, and fine art photography. Today we're going to be talking with David Long, who has written 8 ebooks. So he's going to talk about how to put an ebook together and, what you need to do and where you're going to go and that kind of stuff. The Understand Photography Show is a podcast, and we also put it on YouTube and Facebook as video. So if you're wondering why we don't have any visuals, it's because we have a much larger podcast audience than viewing audience. If you want that to flip around, then watch us. Anyway, we would really appreciate a review on iTunes. It's the most helpful thing you could do for us. If you like this show, the best thing you could do for us is to write us a review on iTunes. And if you wrote a review a couple of years ago, just write another one. It helps us come up in the search engines. Please go to our website, understandphotography.com, and the first thing you're going to see is click here for freebies. Join our mailing list. You're going to, if you can choose something free to download. So there's essential photo, I forgot the name of it now, but it's travel tips for photographers. What camera do I buy? What do I need to know? How to get tack sharp images every time. There's all kinds of different downloads that you can get for free. In exchange, you're giving us your email address, and you'll be put on our mailing list. We only put an email out we only put a newsletter out once a month. Occasionally we send something more than once a month, but not very often, so that we're not going to be bombarding you 6 times a day like I know some companies do. But our newsletter is really good. I put a lot of time into it, so that there are photo tips and things to do, and then also, of course, what's happening with Understand Photography. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you watching our show or listening to our show. And we're going to get started with David Long. David Long is a landscape photographer based in New England, but he spends his spring in St. Augustine, Florida. So I originally found him because he did a guidebook on St. Augustine, but it turns out that he has 7 more in the New England area. So he's going to talk to us about putting together ebooks. So welcome, David Long.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the invite.
Thanks for being on the Understand Photography Show. So now you are a landscape photographer, and you're in New England and St. Augustine. But today we're going to talk about your guidebooks. Now, how many books do you have?
Currently, I have 8. 7 of them are in New England, and then I have one for St. Augustine, where I spend a couple months every year.
8 books?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I guess I didn't. I knew you had books, but I guess I didn't realize you had that many books. So what got you started in creating books? I think a lot of people are interested. Now, these are not coffee table books. These are guidebooks, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
All of them are guidebooks.
Couple things got me started. One, I started doing work. I retired about 5 years ago and started to go pretty heavy into landscape photography, and I'd be doing research on areas. I like to go to a small area and do a lot of different locations within that area, and it was just really hard. I'd see places that I wanted to photograph, but I couldn't necessarily find out where they were or what the best time of day was, or any of the things that you're going to do when you're doing scouting. And I ran across a book by a photographer about Vermont from the mid 60s to the early 70s, a guy by the name of Arnold Kaplan. And he did, it's almost it's a collector's item now, but he literally drew diagrams on where to place your tripod legs, what time of day to go. And many of these locations are still there and still really popular photographic opportunities.
And where did he write? Where was his book?
It was Vermont.
Oh, Vermont. Yeah. Okay.
Vermont.
I'm sorry.
And so I just got the idea that, between the frustration of spending hours and hours of looking and scouting out locations that I wanted to go to, and kind of looking at what he had done, I kind of came up with this idea of doing the ebooks, which I enjoy doing it, but I also use it because I get a lot of requests now on social media for locations that I shoot, and it's pretty easy to shoot them a page out of the ebook or refer them to the ebook if they want to tour that whole particular area.
That is awesome. I'm going to jump around a little bit because you just said on social media, people ask you for locations. Do you have a big social media following?
Yeah, I do. I don't use Facebook much, but I use primarily Instagram, and I have about 13,000 followers on Instagram.
Wow. And how do you feel like you got the 13,000 followers? I don't want to make this a show about Instagram, but is there like a couple little tips you could give us?
Oh, sure. It's one, it's posting regularly.
And what is regularly to you?
I usually post on a daily basis.
Okay.
And
once a day?
Once a day. I'll miss a day here and there when I'm traveling. If I'm going on a workshop myself, I'm busy, I might not post for a day or two, but generally speaking, I'll post usually every day. And posting the right time of day. I either post first thing in the morning or post right around 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, something like that. And then a lot of it's hashtags, just finding the right hashtags for basically the hub sites that do a lot of reposting of photos. And I think the other part is just being friendly to your followers, answering questions, being appreciative of them following you and making comments and, following people back that you like. And so it's a really nice community. I get a lot of joy out of using Instagram and just have a real community of friends. And those friends I utilize now a lot for finding new locations. So I'll shoot something in Cape Cod, for example. Person from Cape Cod will come back and say, have you tried this site, or have you been here or been there? And I'll go, no, I haven't. And
okay. So you learn from them too.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So it's a real nice community.
That is awesome. Okay. Yeah, I know. I struggle with Instagram because posting every day seems like a lot of work to me. And I started subscribing to later.com, which is a scheduler.
Okay.
I kept with it for a little while, but then, it's like, well, then I need 30 pictures ahead of time. And but of course I live in Florida. It's the end of our busy season, but it's busy. You're working 15, 18 hours a day. It seems like finding time to do that is tough, but I know it's important nowadays. I mean, either Facebook or Instagram or both, I think. And I think can't you share to Instagram and automatically share to Facebook?
Yes.
But you don't do that?
I don't. I'm not into Facebook as much. Just I didn't get started with it, and it seems like it's Instagram is all about photography. It's all about the images, where Facebook can be about a million other things. And to be honest with you, that's where I don't really have a lot of time to delve into all the stuff that's on Facebook. So, I'll post a few things on Facebook, like my schedule for workshops, or if I have a new ebook that's out, I'll go into Facebook and talk about the launch of it. But other than that, it's primarily Instagram.
Wow. Okay. So, all right. So let's talk about your books. So you have 8 books. One from St. Augustine, and then the other 7 are the New England area, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so do you have plans for more before we get into?
Yeah. I'd like to have probably right now, I have 2 in the works, and then I have probably on the drafting table at least 4 more. So I would expect that I might have as many as 14, 15 books on New England when I finish.
Wow. Now, how long does it take you to put together a book? Now, so you have 2 you're working on at the same time.
Yes.
And that just means you're, collecting pictures?
Yep. Finding enough content.
Okay, so you're collecting the picture. You're going out.
Yep.
You're shooting the pictures.
Correct.
And you're taking notes.
Yes.
About the location.
Yes.
Oh, I went here at 8 o'clock in the morning, but really that wasn't the right time. I should have gone at sunset.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I
usually scout those out pretty well so that I know that I'm there at the right time. But you still,
but the scouting is part of your writing
Yeah.
the book, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do a lot of the pre-scouting, so I use a lot of apps for pre-scouting. So, I'll use
Mm.
Google Earth, and I'll use the Photographer's Ephemeris and PhotoPills and many other apps, so that I have a good idea when I should be there. In terms of when it's facing, what time sunrise is. I'll go in and use Sunset WX to see what the chances of a good sunrise are. So I
Use
try to.
what? What do you say use to get the sunrise?
There's a website called sunset.wx,
Oh,
and
I'm not familiar with that.
then
Me being a sunset person, I live in
yeah,
Southwest Florida.
yeah, there's that, and then there's another one. I think it's called Skyfire, which is a part of the Photographer's Ephemeris, and those are
Okay, so
both
let's go through some of the apps you use. You use the Photographer's Ephemeris, you use
right.
Photo Pills. I'm
Yep,
familiar with those.
yep.
What were the other? Okay, so what was
I'll
the
use
sunset?
Sunset WX is a
Okay.
website.
What?
And then there's an app that works off of that called My Sunsets
Okay.
that I use. But I also have to be cautionary that, I don't get too hung up on some of these predictive apps because they're a guide. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone out when it's, a 94% chance of a good sunrise and there's nothing there. And then
Yeah.
the next day it's a 2% chance of a good sunrise. And I sit on the porch here and watch this brilliant sunrise. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I just get out there, the key is getting out there at the right time and figuring out, how to position myself and, get out there early, I think is one of the keys. I usually get out to a sunrise location a good hour before sunrise, simply
Okay.
because many times I get my best colors a half hour before sunrise,
Yep.
and so I'm out there looking at, what my kind of what my view is and kind of how I want to set up the shot. And I do a lot of that work, but I may not get it the first time, so I go back a lot. So I'll visit a location anywhere from 3 to sometimes a dozen times, and I'll have 10 to 12, 10 to 14 locations in a book, and I want those locations to be close to each other. So I don't want to tell you to be in Provincetown on the Cape and the next one is Sandwich, which is a 3-hour drive. I want to be, I want to be someplace where you can accomplish everything in the book in a day, maybe 2.
Okay, so they're very, very small books.
Very small areas. So
Uh,
I'll do Lower Cape.
so
which
just
is-
10 to 12 locations in a whole book?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It'll be a 20 to 30 page book, when we get done.
Oh, so it's a very small book.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that why you choose not to get them printed?
No, I choose to not get them printed because a couple of reasons. Obviously, one is cost, and I sell some, but I don't sell a tremendous amount that would pay for the print. And the other one is I'm constantly revising them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going
Because
back
what about
to-
the print on demand through Amazon?
Very costly. Yeah. So
Not to you. Not to you.
I sell them to people for anywhere from $6 to $8.
The reason I ask is we have a guidebook for Collier County, so Naples and Collier County. So we've got the Western Everglades. Ours is a big book, though. It's got,
Okay.
I don't even know how many. It's got 100 and something locations in it. Maybe,
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, we do the print on demand, and it is expensive. Our cost is $26.10, I think.
Okay.
So I only marked them up to $27 because I thought,
Yeah.
well, if somebody wants the book, we actually make a little bit of profit on the ebook,
Yeah.
which is only $5.
Right.
But
Exactly.
some people want to have that book in hand, so they have that option, And I'm surprised at how many I sell. I mean, I don't sell tons and tons of them,
Yeah.
but a lot of people seem to really like to buy a book.
Oh yeah. 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 I
So
think there's still that community out there that likes the hard copy. And I may
it's
transition
not a
to
hard
that.
copy; it's a soft copy, but it's a
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not an ebook, but a
yeah.
something that's got a little bit actual pages, and And, I may go that way, if I can get enough volume on the books or put them together for one book on Cape Cod or something like that. But I'm kind of piecing together the sections right now. So, for Cape Cod, I've got 2 sections. The third section I'm working on. So I'll end up having, 70, 80, 90 pages on the Cape with probably 45 locations when I get done. But I decided to go out, and do Provincetown, which is 10 locations. It's a
Okay.
25-page book, and that's out there now in ebook form. And so people can get that. And I also, for anybody who takes a workshop, I automatically give them a copy of that.
Oh,
So
oh,
that
that's nice.
when they're going on the workshop, they can see where we're going. And then after we do the workshop, they can go back anytime they want and have all the specifics on where we visited on the workshop.
Oh, that's cool. That's a great idea. So what type of information do you give on each location?
Oh, I try to be, I try to look and see what I would look for, kind of how I came up with the menu. But it's literally where you park,
Hmm.
um, what what trail you take to the location, or is there a trail? How long is the trail? How difficult is the trail? Um,
Okay.
the specific place that I took the photos that I have in the book, included in the book. So actual, GPS locations from the place where I took the photos, along with full photo data, and then also, any equipment, any tips, as well as what seasons I recommend, what time of day I recommend, and what weather conditions I recommend for visiting the location. So I try to make it as foolproof as possible for somebody to look at it and say, boy, I really like that dune shack, or I really like that lighthouse, or I really like that particular uh, autumn scene in Vermont, overlooking, that farm. I'd love to go shoot that. I've seen it 100 times. Boy, I can zero right in and waste no time and get right there. But on my photos, I always tell people that's my photo with my light and the time of day that I was there and the season I was there. It's a guide. And, landscape photography is wonderful. So you can go in and create your own location, get your own perspective, get your own view of a classic location and try to make it yours. But hopefully I've taken all the guesswork of, how to get there, when to go there, and all the
Yeah.
other stuff that I scout.
Yeah, I have a lot of photography guides I buy, and then that's why we did one too.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it seems like there are a lot of Everglades in general guides, but there wasn't one like specifically to the Western Everglades and the Collier County area. I mean, this is a beautiful area, so which beaches do you go for shorebirds and things like that. So I get it. I think it's a brilliant idea though that you put it all in like one little location, so you have a book for each little location. I think that's just a great idea because then you can kind of hit that one area.
yeah.
And right now I'm planning a trip. I'm going to Europe this summer, and I have a there's no direct flight anywhere in Florida to Prague where I'm going. So I
Okay.
decided that I would fly to Copenhagen, and I'm going to spend one full day in Copenhagen and then fly to Prague the next morning. So this morning I was kind of planning a little bit, and I was like, oh, I'd like to see this. And then I look on the map and it's so far away from the other
Right.
so that's
Right.
nice that you have them all in one location. That's so, so good. Um, so,
Yeah. I mean, for example, I'm leaving next Saturday. I'm going to Amsterdam. I'm going to the
ah,
Netherlands for a week to shoot the tulips, and
mm,
obviously the windmills and the canals and everything else. I have probably put a good 40 hours into scouting, finding locations, routing myself to optimize my time there. And I looked, on Amazon, I looked in every place I could try to find, a book, some type of guide, photography guide on how to shoot the windmill locations, how, where the best tulip places are,
yeah.
what's the best shots of the canals and the row houses in Amsterdam. And I mean, it's just been a process of going through Instagram and 500px and Pixoto and Viewbug and Flickr and, finding locations and, finding out where they are, mapping them out, finding out, what way they face, what's the best time of day to be there.
You couldn't find a guidebook?
Not a guidebook available. I mean, if
No kidding.
somebody had said, shooting the canals in Amsterdam, I would have paid anything for it. Just make my life easy. I'm spending enough money to get to this location, and all I want to do is shoot. And I want to shoot some classic shots and that, and I'll find my own shots once I'm there.
Right.
But get me to the places that have, great shots.
Yeah. And there are different personalities, because for me, I would go on the internet and look for a photo guide.
Yeah.
Like somebody to take me around.
Yes. Yep.
I wouldn't do that. Like, I'm not doing that to Copenhagen. I'm only there one day, and I'm not really going on I just want to see it. I've never been there.
Right.
So if I get pictures, that's nice. But when I go to
a person for a couple days.
Oh, so you are. Okay.
Yeah. Where I'm doing a workshop, very small workshop, one day doing the tulips, and then one day doing Amsterdam.
So you're doing that. You have a co-leader for that. Is that what you're saying?
It's a person that I met on Instagram, and he's running a workshop, and that's the reason I'm going over there.
Oh, you're going on his workshop. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm building. Another 6 days of shooting while I'm there.
Awesome! Wow, that sounds so exciting, and I love tulips. I recently had Jackie Kramer on the show, who's a flower photographer and from St. Augustine, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know her?
I did listen to that one. No, I listened to your podcast though. It was great.
Anyway, it's so sweet. As a gift, I must have said I like tulips because she sent me a bunch of tulips as a thank you gift, which was so sweet.
Oh, yeah.
You could see why she's successful. That was really, really nice. No one's ever sent me a gift before. So this has been 2.5 years of the show. So
well, flowers make such a wonderful foreground element for landscapes. So, last summer I went to shoot the lavender in Provence, and it's unbelievable. And I have a tour in New England where we do the lupins up in New Hampshire, where these huge lupin fields, provide this unbelievable foreground as well as great macro photography opportunities, for my workshop attendees. So I love going to that, and then I've got another small tour in Iceland this summer, and we're doing it during the midnight sun. But what people don't realize is that the lupins in Iceland they're an invasive species. They're so prominent and so.
Oh my gosh!
They're everywhere in South Iceland at the end of June. So planning trips, landscape trips with flowers in mind is a great option.
That is awesome. God, I love flowers. I'm not a flower photographer. I don't know. Maybe I will be someday. I certainly changed in my photographic journey over the years. I've been a full-time photographer for over 20 years now, and I'm definitely, learning new things as I go. So I was so into portraits and lighting, and I love that kind of stuff. And the last 10 years, I guess, I've been more into landscape photography. I love landscape photography. But all these flower photographers are kind of getting me interested in that, too. So we'll see.
Yeah, I am going to take my macro lens with me to Amsterdam. I don't do a lot of, individual small shots of, macro shots of flowers, but it's an area that intrigues me a little bit to add on to, I always try to come up with something to kind of add on to my portfolio. And last year I started to do a little bit more drone photography, and this year I've decided to do a little bit more macro photography to kind of add into my landscape photography.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I forget. I had a good guest who said that they always have a photography goal. It was Denise Silva. Okay. And I thought, I should do that. So, one thing that I would like to work more on is long exposures, because I love that look. So I made appointments with myself, put it on my calendar. I did it for a while, and then I got busy, and so I've got to get back to that. It's hard to force yourself to photograph on a regular basis when you're working.
Yes,
Well,
it is.
especially during season for us, we work very, very long hours because we only have 3.5 months to make our year of income, basically.
Oh, okay.
So everything seems to go by the wayside until after Easter, and then we start catching up again. All right. So in your book, you actually go through different settings that you have, or is that just per picture you put the settings that you did?
Yeah, well, I'll give them, a lot of times I give them all the metadata, and I give them all the specifics on the shot, in terms of, was it on a tripod? Did I use a filter? What time of day was it? What season was it? As well as, what was the f-stop? What were the settings on the camera? What was the GPS location, that it was shot from? But then I'll also, in the tips section, I'll talk about, what I would recommend that they use in terms of equipment. Is this a wide angle shot? Is this a telephoto shot? Is this a, is this something, what am I trying to do with the photo, or the location? And so in many cases, in the equipment and the tips section, I'll try to give them 4 or 5 or 6 different suggestions on what I might recommend, because it's, it's amazing how many people, just go in, set the tripod up, shoot it at eye level, and take the postcard shot of it, which is fine, but it's not the shot that usually gathers the interest of the viewer or competition, whatever you're shooting for.
So your book, you're actually kind of guiding them into the type of shot, not just here's a great place to take pictures, but get down low, use a wide angle lens, whatever you're doing, that kind of stuff in each. Well, that's really good.
Yeah, I'm guiding them of what I'm trying to do, just to, hopefully get them thinking about the fact that don't just show up at the lighthouse, go to the same place, that everybody shoots, Portland light from, go down on the rocks, or go around, the back end of the lighthouse at this particular time, or, do something, that's unique and different so that you don't have the same exact image. Shoot the classic image, but then go around and, try to get something that's different and really something where you can say, wow, this is something I haven't seen before. I kind of created something new and different, and it's kind of mine rather than just something I copied off of somebody's Instagram post.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now, how do you put the book together? What kind of software do you use?
I used InDesign, Adobe InDesign, which is a pretty intuitive type of program, pretty easy to learn. It'll take me a good, the last one on Central Vermont, I had a person do it for me initially, first 3 or 4 books, and then the last 3 books I've put together on my own. And it'll take me a good 40 hours or so to get everything right and get everything the way I want it in a book. So it's a process.
So you hired someone to do the first few books?
Yeah, I did.
And how did you find that person?
It was actually I work for an organization up in Boston by the name of Blue Hour Boston, and they run a lot of tours, but they wanted somebody locally to do workshops. So I joined up with them about 3 years ago and discussed the ebook idea with one of the owners of Blue Hour, and she said, well, I think I could do that for you. So she did the first 2 or 3 books for me. And we worked on the format, and then finally I said, hey, I appreciate you doing the work for me, but I need to take this over, because once I get it, I can do a lot more editing. I was writing everything out, in Word or something like that and sending it to her. Now I just put it into the book. I just go into InDesign and create it in InDesign and edit it in InDesign, change it in InDesign, and it gives me a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, you don't have to depend on her every time.
Yeah.
So how did
do anything I want with the book?
Is Adobe InDesign, is that a rental thing like Adobe does?
Yeah, it's part of the Adobe suite.
The Adobe suite is the thing that's $50 a month?
Yes, it's a full suite where instead
Is
of
that what
just a
it's called?
pack-
Full Adobe Suite?
suite. Yeah, that's their suite of InDesign, Photoshop, Lightroom, Camera Raw, and then there's a Acrobat, which is the for the PDF program, and there's one other in there that I don't use, which is there are 5 programs, and I think it's around $53 a month, something like that.
Oh, it's gone up a little.
Yeah, it has.
And is that the only way to get InDesign? You can't get it individually?
Yeah, you can still purchase the program, or you can just get InDesign on its own. Like you can get Lightroom on its own. But it's cheaper.
You can't
cheaper
get
to
Lightroom on
the
its own anymore.
We can get Photoshop Lightroom on its own, the photographer's package.
Oh, right, but that's
Yeah.
$10 a month. You can't buy it.
Right,
You can't
right,
buy
exactly. Yeah,
it. I thought you meant you could buy it.
yeah. InDesign you can still buy.
You can outright buy it?
Yes,
Do you know how much it costs?
it's pricey. It's for in the $400 range.
So, yeah. Because $50 a month is a lot of money compared to the $10 a month we're spending for Photoshop and Lightroom,
Yeah, it is.
So you really would be paying, if you only wanted InDesign, you would be paying $40 a month for that.
Right.
It's a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, it is.
And it was not hard to learn, though.
No. I basically went on a couple tutorial sites like lynda.com, watched 20 hours of videos on how to do it, and then jumped in. It's very intuitive. So it's something that kind of fit my brain pretty well. So I was able to get into it, and I had a couple of resources that knew how to do it. So from that standpoint, if I had a question, I'd either go in and Google the question and find a quick tutorial on how to do it, or call a friend and got through it pretty quickly on the first time I did it. So I really enjoy the program. It's a fun one to use.
Okay. It's funny because when you say intuitive and Adobe, those are usually not two words that go together. Adobe does great stuff, but man, usually they're hard to learn.
Well, I think Lightroom's pretty intuitive. Photoshop for me is totally diametrically opposed to Lightroom. For some reason, my brain gears into Lightroom pretty easily, and I know there's a way to do it. And I know I can find it in Photoshop. I have a lot of friends that use Photoshop for all their processing, and I just admire them, because it's.
And you know what? I have been, of course, I started on Photoshop because I told you I've been doing this for a long time. And Photoshop is something you can learn a little bit at a time. Lightroom, if you don't understand the library module right away, it is, to me, the nightmare software. I've had more trouble with Lightroom than any software I've ever had in my life.
Really? Okay.
And most of our private lessons are Lightroom because they can't find their photos. Just the library module is it's tough. The develop module is very intuitive.
Yes. Yeah.
But the library module, holy crap. It's easy to lose your pictures in Lightroom.
Well, I developed my own workaround for that, so I don't use the library module. I go in and literally save all my pictures onto the hard drive separately, and then I use the library module to import them with the section, the subsection, and everything else, as I've already loaded them onto my Finder. So it's I don't let the library module put them in for me. I put them in myself, and never have had a problem with it in 5 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, all right. So, how do you make money off of these books?
Yeah. I've sold 3,000 or 4,000, I guess, in the last 3 years. And I use them also as to give to my workshop attendees. And they're also it's a motivation to go out and shoot. So if I have 6 locations on the Upper Cape, I know I want 3 or 4 more locations to make a book for so I'll go out and do a lot of research and talk to a lot of people and find 3 or 4 more good locations in that small geographic area. So it's kind of a win-win for me. It's something that I would probably do, irregardless of whether I sold that many, because it's just a fun process and it's a way to share your photos as well. And in this day and age, it's getting tougher and tougher to share your photos.
This is so true.
There's so many thousands of different, places to show them. And this is one that, I get a lot of satisfaction when somebody buys one or I give one to somebody and they spend time looking at it and reading it and come back with some very positive comments. That's always rewarding rather than just, an offhand comment on Instagram.
That's awesome. One thing I do wanted to say to the audience, though, before we moved on too far away from what we were talking about designing the book, I hired someone also, but I went on to, and I can't remember the site now. It used to be called Odesk, but they've sold it to some other. It was Elance, then it was Odesk, now it's something else. But there are, if you type in, I don't know, freelance help, I think even Fiverr would be an option.
Oh,
but
okay.
I found someone, I figured out how long I thought it would take. And I said, here's how much I'm going to pay, which I think was $500. So it's not, It wasn't cheap. Of course, my book is much larger than yours.
Yeah, exactly.
And I found someone to design it for me. Now, the problem that we ran into is she did it in InDesign, or is it InDesign or InDesign? InDesign.
Yeah.
She did it in InDesign, and to upload it into the Amazon, they didn't accept those files.
Huh.
So then I had to find another company to convert it to keep everything at the high resolution.
Okay.
And that was another $150 or something like that because I couldn't figure out how to do it. The PDF that I made from that, for some reason, from InDesign to the PDF, it kind of made the pictures all pixely.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's still true because our book came out 3 years ago or 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not sure. So, but that was, that was the kind of stuff if you are going to do it. Now, how do you upload it to Amazon?
I don't. Not currently. It's something I'm looking at. So.
Oh, so how do you sell it? Let's talk about how you sell it.
Yeah, no, I sell it, on my own website, and then I sell it on the Blue Hour website, which is the site that handles my workshops. So just 2 locations currently, and now I'm looking to figure out how to, now that I've got, when I had 1 or 2 books, it wasn't something I could talk about, but really what I'd like to end up with is a whole series on New England. So
yeah.
I end up with 12 or 14 books on New England, and I have a library, that then I can go out and, market to, different tour places or travel or Chamber of Commerce. And with that, I need a wider venue to be able to sell the book. And, so I'm starting to look into Amazon and some other locations that might be able to sell the book for me.
So you've sold 3,000 or 4,000 books just on your own site and the Blue Hour site. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. It's been very popular. I get very, my key now is just, everybody who orders it usually comes back and orders more because they really like the book and want to go to a different area. And, everybody's very complimentary on the fact that it's so simplified the process for them to travel to a new area and find some really good landscape locations to shoot. And I also tell them, I also try to route them. I put maps in there on how to get there, but also maps between the areas. And then I'll talk about the fact that, pay attention between the areas. Just because, I saw this site doesn't mean you're not going to see this overlook or this farm or, this seacoast area or whatever it happens to be. And, it's so they're able to put together their own little tours, for a day or 2 days. And, there's a lot of great tours out there, but, a lot of people don't have 5 or 6 or 10 days to go take a tour, of a far off place or don't have the money for it. But a lot of people just say, I live in I live in Central Mass and I want to go up to the Maine coast for a day, and I can handle that. I can do it over a weekend, and this is great. You just saved me a whole bunch of time and shown me 7 or 8. And I even have a lot of people that say I live in northern Vermont and I didn't know about these 3 locations.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's a great way to to get that information out to a really growing audience. I mean, especially my age group, I guess. The retiree market just really enjoys photography, as well as a lot of young people are now picking up quitting their jobs and just saying, I'm going to travel the world and for the next couple of years. And I got people that'll show up from Idaho and buy my book and just say, I'm in Vermont for a week, and this is great because I don't know anything about Vermont, and you just made it easy to find all the locations in central Vermont or northeast Vermont.
So how are they finding you? They're finding you mostly through Instagram, or? I mean, because let me just tell you, I went to Cape Cod last summer. I was a speaker at the New England Camera Club conference.
Yep.
So I decided to make it into a road trip.
Yep.
And then, every year I try to give a good bonus to Joe Fitzpatrick because he's amazing. He's our lead instructor here. He does many of the photo tours. And he does a lot of stuff for free for me. So I try to give him something good every year. So I have a friend who lives in Naples, Maine, which is funny. She lives in Naples, Florida, and in Naples, Maine.
Perfect.
And she said, well, why don't you give him a trip to Acadia and we'll all go. So, Anne Marie and I roomed together, Joe and another guy roomed together, and we went to Maine. But I specifically was looking, so we went to Cape Cod first. So we drove up there, and we went to Cape Cod first and stayed with one of our friends. And that was fun. I spoke at the Cape Cod Camera Club from the Art Center.
Yep,
and
absolutely, up in Barnstable.
Where is it?
Barnstable.
Maybe. It was right next to like an old church.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And then, of course, we spoke in Amherst I spoke at the convention, and then went up to Maine. But I was looking for guidebooks, and I didn't come across yours, to tell you the truth. So I was just doing Google searches. I mostly wanted to do Acadia National Park, but I also did Cape Cod.
Yep.
So how are people finding you if you're not coming up in Google, since you didn't come up in Google for me? And that was just last summer.
Yeah, no, it's part of the problem of marketing,
Well, tell me about it. It's like, my whole life is like, oh my God, I can't keep up with all this marketing. But anyway, you're selling 3,000 or 4,000 books in a few years.
Yes.
Somebody's finding out about you. Right.
And and I'll go back and, find out how they found out about the book. And it's all kinds of things, a little bit of it is Google searches, some of it is, Instagram, is probably the major source right now for selling books. Like I said, I do a little bit of Facebook. They'll be on the Blue Hour site. They'll be taking a tour, there, and they'll see the books for sale on the Blue Hour site. I certainly don't have it covered, and that's one of the things I'm working on this year is, how to expand the availability or the knowledge that those guides are out there, because I know there's a lot of people that would love to have them but just never find them when they're searching.
Yeah, because I was searching. I was literally searching for guides for those two. Do you have one for Acadia or no?
I don't. It's on my list.
That's the one I really searched for, and I found 2. I paid for one, real book. It's not hardcover, but a soft cover book, and then got an ebook as well. And they were both helpful. It was nice because Joe is not the type to hire somebody. I'm the type to hire somebody. Joe is not that type. He's like, just do it himself. It's a personality thing. For me, it's like, if somebody else already did the work, why would I, you know what I mean? Why would I want to?
In New England, I have so many contacts now through Instagram that if I go places, a lot of times I'll get in touch with somebody. Like if I went to Acadia, I'd probably have 5 or 6 people that live in Acadia, and they would just literally show me around, and So I've got, I'm going up to mid-Maine this summer. That's the next two areas that I'm putting on my list is southern Maine and mid-Maine, which is Boothbay down to Brunswick, and it's just an unbelievable area. And so I'm friends with the editor for Down East Magazine, the photo editor for Down East Magazine. So he and I are going to get together for 3 days, and he's going to show me around all around mid-Maine. So
oh my God! And the editor of a magazine is a good contact to have.
Yeah,
Have you ever been featured in his magazine?
What's that?
Have you ever been featured in his magazine?
No, because I haven't shot enough in Maine. But
this summer
we share photographs. He does some tours in Vermont, and that's how we connected. So he runs some tours over in Vermont, saw my photographs from Vermont. He says, well, if you ever come up to Maine, I know you don't shoot a lot there. I said, well, that's kind of next on my list is Portland, up to Boothbay. And
I went to Boothbay this summer. It was gorgeous.
So I'm going to be Camden and Rockport and Port Clyde and, all the lighthouses up through that area and all the coastal areas. It's just, all the little seacoast villages, all the, the fishing villages that are out on the main islands they're just classic, just wonderful.
I tell you, I thought Maine was amazing. I never really had a desire to go to Maine until my friend Anne Marie said, you got to come to Maine. It's beautiful. And holy cow, she was right. It is so beautiful. I loved it. I really did. That was a long road trip for me. We went, Joe was with me up to Maine, and then I did the rest of the trip by myself. So I cut across Canada because I also spoke at Swansea, which is Southwestern Michigan Club of Camera. I don't know. Okay. I can't remember what it stands for, but it was another convention.
Wow, that is a long road trip.
Yeah, and then so I kind of went up 95 and came down 75,
Right, exactly. Yeah,
it was a long.
I'm from Michigan. I know Southwest Michigan. That's where I was born and raised. So.
Really? I'm from Detroit.
From Grand Rapids. So.
That's interesting. It's so beautiful on that side. I ended up staying. The conference was in Holland, which is amazing. Yeah. And I had been to Holland during their Tulip Festival back,
absolutely.
In 1970 something. Yeah. But
Grand Haven or Saugatuck or
I went to
Holland
Saugatuck. Saugatuck was amazing.
All the way up to Traverse City and up in that area, the western Lake Michigan coastline is gorgeous.
It's beautiful, just gorgeous. But I'm happier here in Florida. I need the sun. That's one thing Michigan doesn't have much of is the sun.
Not most of the year. You're right.
All right. So if I want to write a guidebook, which I am actually in the middle of another guidebook, and I shouldn't say in the middle because I am about halfway through another one, and then season hit and it went on the shelf because I can't do anything during season.
Yep.
But let's say somebody just is starting out, and let's say they don't live anywhere near you or me.
Yep.
Let's say they live in Alaska and they want to do a guidebook.
Sure.
What do you have? What would be your at least 5 top tips? But if you have more, go for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, the best tip I can give is create good images. That's why it takes me a while because I'm really fussy about the images that I put in there, and so that's what attracts people to want to go to the location is they see an image, they see a site, and they kind of fall in love with it and they want to shoot it. So that would be my first tip and that's why I'm slow in producing my books is I won't produce it unless I have images that I think.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah.
How many books have you put out and at what period of time?
Well, like I said, 8 books I've got so far. And
when did you start? And when did the last one go out?
Let's see, it's been about 2.5 years. The last one went out 2 months
ago.
So
you think 2.5 years to do 8 books is a long time?
Well, no, I photographed for 5 years collecting images before I could even start my first one.
Okay, because I was going to say that sounds really, really fast. I mean, I've been working on my second book for more than 2 years.
Well, your books are bigger. They have a lot more locations. So
And I might steal your idea and have shorter books. I never even thought about that. Go
yeah,
ahead, though. All right, so top
and
tips. Good pictures.
photography is one. Give specific locations, literally so that it becomes foolproof. Give the driving directions, give the GPS location, give where you should park, how long the trail is. I don't know how many times I've seen a location, scouted it out, and then found out it was at the end of a 15-mile hike. Well, I'm probably not going to put that one on my to-do list right away. And so, what I try to tell people is, this location is, a 20-minute hike or a 30-minute hike, or, and it is a tough hike, if it's going up in the mountains of New Hampshire, or it is an easy hike, it's along the shore to get out to this lighthouse on Cape Cod. So give people, ample information about how to get there, not only how to get to the location, but where to park for the location, so that it's it's easy for them.
Okay.
Give them certainly seasonal guidelines. I shoot, surprisingly, I'm never going to go up to New Hampshire or Vermont in the summertime. I just, it's solid green wherever you go, and it's not, to me, not attractive for landscape photography. So if you're going to go to northern Vermont, you're going to go either in the fall, or surprisingly, you're going to go in the winter. And if you're going to go in the winter, you got to be prepared for certain things, of winter New England photography. So I will cover that in the book as well. And then make it so that the sites are close to each other.
That is such a what a great idea.
So
very impressed by that.
So in 8 to 10 locations, I seldom have driving time to hit all 10 locations. It should take you no more than 4 hours of driving to hit 10 locations. You're obviously not going to hit 10 locations in 4 hours, because you're going to stop, you're going to hike, you're going to set up, you're going to shoot. You're going to find the right time to photograph those locations. And if you're in Maine, it's sunrise, and if you're someplace else, you're not going to shoot a lot of midday photos. So that's why a lot of times it takes 2 or 3 days to do the whole tour, but you at least can get in 3 or 4 good locations in a day. So I really focus on what are 2 or 3 good sunrise locations, what are 2 or 3 good sunset locations, what's good, if it's a good astro site, what's a good Milky Way site, or moonrise or moonset site. So I try to include those as well. So I try to give them, all my knowledge on landscape photography condensed in one book. And, so those would be the top 2 or 3, 4 tips I would give in terms.
And what about a tips for putting the book together? I mean, InDesign is one thing, but selling the book, I know a lot of people who've already put books together. Do you think that Instagram is the way to go nowadays for photographers?
It works. Instagram is a community, though, that doesn't like you to push product as much. So I try to do a very soft sell on Instagram. So, I'll stop following people that are good photographers if they become too demonstrative in selling their workshops, selling products, product placement, whatever. I'm just saying, I don't need that. I'm just looking to follow somebody who shoots nice locations. So I do a lot of soft selling on Instagram, just saying, if you'd like to know where this location is, DM me, and, I'll be happy to supply you information. And usually I send them information on the site, but I also include something that says, if you're interested in other sites around Provincetown or something like that, I do have an ebook available. So I try not to do, an online posting of that information. I try to do it more on a one-on-one communication when somebody's interested in getting location information from me.
Okay. But you still probably get a bulk of your book sales from people who follow you on Instagram. Is that a true statement?
And camera club, I do a lot of camera club speaking, and so
Ah,
a lot of times they're some of my best audience because they're a built-in audience.
I
It's
agree.
camera club is I go in and I'll do probably, I think this year I'm doing 6 or 7 talks at New England camera clubs, and it's on landscape photography, and I set it all up so that I give them a 45-minute presentation on things, what I call tips on landscape photography, but all of it features New England photographs. So they look at it and say, "Oh, I know that place, I want to go there," or "I don't know that place, I want to go there."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and then again, a soft sell at the end. I just say I run workshops. I also do ebooks. If you want to buy an ebook for that particular location, and inevitably, I'll get a couple dozen orders for ebooks after every presentation at some of the New England photo clubs. And New England's a huge area for photography. I mean, Instagram and photo clubs, and I think NECCC has over 90 clubs, as part of the
Well, there were,
membership.
I think there were 1,200 people at that conference. It was a big honor to speak there, I'll tell you that. But
And New England
I
has such a variety of places, I mean, from the mountains in New Hampshire and Vermont to the Maine coast to the Cape I mean, even some wonderful cities. I mean, shooting Boston or shooting Portland. I have one ebook just on how to shoot Boston.
oh
Because
yeah.
it's a huge photographic location. It's a wonderful city to shoot landscape photography.
Oh yeah, I would imagine so. That's good advice about the camera clubs. I had to get over my fear of public speaking because as a portrait photographer, things, and anybody who listens to my show knows that I went completely broke in 2009. I mean, it was just, my business just, it went away so fast. This business that I had worked however many years to build up, and it was a good business, I made good money, and then boom, within 6 months it was gone.
Wow.
And I was scrambling. So one of the many things I did was started teaching, which I was very uncomfortable with because I didn't think I was smart enough. But just teaching alone was scary in my own little studio. But then in order to sell the classes, I had to get over my fear of public speaking and get out there to the camera clubs. And the camera clubs are a great resource of if you got to just bite the bullet and get over your fear of public speaking, which was hard for me, but I'm not afraid anymore. But that was, I
No.
mean, it's been 10 years,
Yeah, no,
So,
I think you've overcome that fear.
yeah. But I mean, it was hard. It was really hard. So if that's something that people struggle with, you just got to do it, and then you slowly get over it. I think. I don't know. You probably didn't struggle with it, but I struggled with it.
Ah.
So
Well, I think people, once you get up in front of a camera club, you've got a captive audience. And, the key part of that is just putting together good content. And if you got good content and you got an interested audience, it makes public speaking a lot easier.
yeah, and if you have smaller clubs to start with, our club here in Naples, when I first started, our club has over 100 members at the meetings.
Yep.
So that was a pretty terrifying way to start.
Yeah. I'm a member of Boston Camera Club, which is the biggest one in Boston. And we, generally speaking, have around 100 people at our
Yeah.
meetings as well.
I do now I like it, but at the time it was terrifying. All right, so what about some of the pitfalls that people should look out for when they're producing their book? For me, mine was that the person did it in InDesign, and then Amazon wouldn't accept that format.
Oh,
That turned out to be a stumbling block that took me almost 6 months to get over. I mean, 6 months because I didn't have time to work on it full time, but still, it was a hard thing to figure out what to do.
Do you
So what
remember
about you? What
do you remember which program you had to submit it in?
they said PDF, but the InDesign wouldn't convert to a PDF correctly. And
Oh,
I don't know why. I don't remember. It's been 3 or 4 years, so I don't
yep.
remember all the details, but it was a huge problem for me. So, the pitfall that you have to watch out for, if you're going to put it on Amazon, make sure you read all of the rules on Amazon before you get started.
Yes. Yeah. Good advice. I haven't. I haven't tackled that yet. It's on my to-do list this year. So
And I can't believe that that's still true because everybody uses InDesign now. So maybe
yeah,
they've changed it now. Hopefully they've changed it now.
yeah, it must have been something to do with the conversion to Acrobat or to the PDF.
Yeah, I don't know. But
But
I finally found a company who solved that problem. That's what they always say. To
I'll let
build
you
a
know
business,
if
you
I have
need to
problems.
solve a problem, and this company did. What would be a big pitfall that you came into that people need to look out for, do you think?
I think one of the big pitfalls that I is kind of spending time, obviously, on the language. Don't make it too verbose in terms of, it's people don't like to read. For the most part, they like images. So I was a marketing guy. I was VP of marketing for a large industrial firm in the Boston area. So, but it was industrial. So we worked with engineers and, an audience that understood and spent a lot of time reading information. And on photography, it's all about the image. So if you have dynamic images and you have, kind of what I call the USA Today approach of, short, succinct, little boxes of information, a lot of icons. So, I use a lot of icons through my book so that if somebody's looking for the route or they're looking for the map or they're looking for equipment tips or whatever, they immediately, I lay out right at the beginning of the book, this is how you use the book, so if you want to look through these 3 pages, but all you're looking is how to get to this lighthouse, just go to the map icon there and pick that out. And that seems to work very well. People find the books very readable.
That's great advice. Lots of white space.
A lot of white space, a lot of images, and a lot of short, crisp sentences.
Okay, cool. So what's next for you? You lead workshops, you said. So what workshops do you have coming up?
Well, I have 15 this year.
Oh my gosh.
So I'll run 4 on the Cape Cod. I just recently ran one here in St. Augustine, which is the first time I ran one here in St. Augustine.
Actually, Joe Fitzpatrick, I mean, this is going to air later, but he's leading our St. Augustine trip right now. That was our very first trip that we ever did, and so we've been doing that every year since 2010.
It's a wonderful place to photograph.
We love St. Augustine. So you just finished one?
I just finished one in late March, and now I'll go up and do one in New Hampshire, 2 on the Cape this summer, and then I really hit mainly September, October, because most of my business tends to be around fall foliage. So
yeah, that would make sense.
I'll run 2 in Mass, 4 in Vermont, and 2 in New Hampshire, all in November, all scheduled kind of around the change of the leaves up in different areas of Vermont and New Hampshire. And then I'll do then I do 3 or 4 at the end of the year, shooting the holiday lights in Boston.
Oh, how nice. Now, are they all through that Blue Moon? Is that a separate company from yours, or?
Yeah, that's Blue Hour Boston.
Blue Hour, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and they're a tour workshop site. And most of their work that the 2 owners do are big tours. They're off to Italy, or they're off to Iceland, or they're off to usually someplace in Europe or South America or whatever. And I partnered up with them several years ago because they didn't have the time or the resources to do local workshops. So they said, we have a huge audience, even some people that take tours that just want to do a 1-day or 2-day workshop. And so we got together, and that's why we put together the kind of the 1 or 2-day workshop, along with their emphasis, which is really on the longer 6 to 10-day tours.
Okay, so where can we find? And so you don't do workshops on your own at all. You do it always through this company.
Yeah, they just handle my bookings and handle my reservations and stuff.
Okay.
They don't work with me on the workshops. They just say, which workshops would you like to run?
Okay.
we'll publicize and handle all the
And they
back
help you advertise it and,
Yep, they have real good clientele and newsletters. They handle all the back office issues in terms of reservations and all the money, and perfect relationship, because it's not something that I want to spend a lot of time on. I'd rather be out shooting and leading workshops than in the back office trying to figure out how to collect, for them.
tell me about it, because that's my job. That's why Joe gets to do all the workshops. I do some, but he does most of them because it takes a lot of work to sell a workshop. So tell me the website of Blue Hour.
It's www.bluehourboston.com.
bluehourboston.com. And then what's your website?
www.davelongphoto.com.
davelongphoto.com. Okay.
And then,
all right.
On Instagram, I'm, David Long 3653. So anybody that wants
3653. How'd you
Yeah,
come
and-
up with those numbers?
anybody who wants to send me a birthday present, they now know when my birthday is. So March 2nd.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. What a joy. And I really enjoy your program. I've listened to, in fact, I was over shooting birds at the alligator farm in St. Augustine the other day, and I had I listened to both your ones on bird photography, so I was shooting the birds, listening to your expert. What's the gentleman that did your 100th show? He did your first show.
Oh, Artie Morris. Yeah.
I'm listening to him telling me how to shoot birds as I'm shooting birds. I said, this is perfect.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you said my two, I think we've had quite a few bird photographers on the show.
Yeah.
That's what you find in Florida, are bird photographers.
Yeah, exactly.
I said, Heather, we got to have more variety, or if they're a bird photographer, we have to talk about something else, because
Right.
I know they're popular, but it can't all be about birds.
Have them come to St. Augustine. To me, I've been to a lot of places in Florida, but St. Augustine has just wonderful variety of things to shoot. And I know your workshop will do well up here. But
well, we've been doing it this is our 9th one, so.
do a little PR for the Chamber of Commerce here.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks. Very nice meeting you.
Thanks to David Long for being a guest on the Understand Photography show. Thank you to our audience for watching or listening. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast, and we will see you next week on the Understand Photography show. I'm Peggy Farron.